morning. This is Rabbi Shlomo, first here at Yeshiva Tsama Nafshi, here in Yerushalyim, HaKodesh, and Yeshiva Tsama Nafshi, located in the Beit Knesset of Chanukah Yeshiva in the HaKodesh Zikron Yaakov number 6. So we're learning our first year, usually about 9 o'clock, in Pirkei Avos, the first parak, the 7th Mishnah, Nataya Har Beili on your hearted Yeshiva. You should keep your distance from a detrimental, evil neighbor. You should not associate with the Rasha. And don't despair from the progress, which is basically what we're focusing on right now. We'll go to the other points a little bit further as we get further on, but now we're really working on Altis Yayish Min HaPeronius. So maybe let's now work on the that's where we left off, the fourth citation in the Magane Avos Rashkatz of Avos Perek Aleph. Yeah, would you like to be reading them? Sure.
Al tityaes min haporniot, samach ze le'el tichaber l'rasha. Don't despair from calamity, retribution, punishment. Samach is supporting.
Well, look, this is it's close by. I mean, it was soymich. I mean, they had placed it right. This statement of Altis Yayish Min HaPeronius was placed right near to the previous statement of Altis Kaber LaRussia. Don't associate with the Russia, because he's gonna. This is a form of limud. There are many methodologies in learning Kosher Bal Pen. One of them is what we call smichas. Now, especially in Sefer Devarim in the Chumash, smichas is very crucial in many of the things we learn out from one thing to the next. I mean, the fact that it's associated, we had this previously in 2 weeks ago in the Parsha Shavil Nasa. You had the Parsha of Sota, and then right after that was the Parsha of Nazir. Right? So Rashi says, Samik Parsha Zeh, why was Nazir followed right after Sota? Because a person who sees a Sota in her disgrace, right, he should take on to becoming a Nazir. He should be separated from drinking wine, right? It's all right. You want to see if you want to get a chumash.
What does Sota have to do with wine?
Because that's one of the things. Why do we make her drink, right? Because she in her enticement of the fellow she was involved with, she used wine as part of her enticements, right? So therefore, excuse me?
Did she?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, I don't know that.
I thought it was that he was now susceptible to good behavior because he had seen the possibility of such behavior happening, and therefore he wanted to kind of become more of an Essene type of person for a while to keep himself away from that to reduce that influence.
Let's see.
I personally assume that the kesher was because both Sota and Nazir have formulas that have to ritual, very precise. Actually, does Nazir have a verbal script that has to be like that? If you go to like Sota, she has to say something. I think Nazir has it.
No, I mean he makes a statement. He actually makes a statement to himself, right? Okay, say Lama Nismacha Parshas Nazir Parshas Sota. I'm reading from Rashi. If you want to look at it inside, you can get a couple of commercials. You meant to read this, Matishyan?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Great. Excuse me 1 second. Thank you very much. Okay, so that'll be in the Midbar Parsha Vav, right? Parsha Vav. Pasuk actually is the Rashi and Pasuk Beis. Right there. It says again, this is the Pasuk Aleph. There, Hashem Moshe Lemor. Hashem spoke to Moshe. The bear of Ben Israel, speak to the Jewish people. Amar Kaleim, say to them, Ish or Isha Ki Yifli Lindor Neder Nazir Hazir Rasha. Where a man or a woman will make a vow of separation, and he should make a neder vow of nazir. He wants to become a nazir and devote himself to Hashem. So Rashi says there in Beis. You have a day you want to read it, Yaakov?
Pasuk Beis or Mem Beis?
Yes, Pasuk Beis.
I don't know where we are. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
You have the Chumash?
Yes. What chapter?
Chapter Vav, 6.
Okay.
It's the second verse,
Okay.
and we're going to work on the Rashis. Maybe you want to read the Rashis there?
Sure.
Okay. So
6:2.
6:2 exactly.
Okay. Okay. So. All right.
Ki Yafle?
Who shall Ki Yafli?
Yes.
Okay. Ki Yafli. Who shall set himself apart?
Right. Yeah.
Yafli means Yafrish. He shall separate himself.
Right.
Lama nismacha parashas nazir lefarashas sota. Why was the passage of the Nazir put adjacent to the passage of the Sota? Lomar lecha, to tell you, shakol haroeh sota, that anyone who sees a sota, bakil kula, in her state of disgrace, after she's been barred by the Kohen, yazir atzmo min chayayin, should take upon himself to abstain from wine by becoming a Nazir. Shehu mevi lidei niuf, for wine leads to adultery.
The oof is adultery?
Yeah. This is the relationships, right?
Keep going.
No, that's it. That's
Okay.
sufficient. So you see, again, what the way the Torah is presented to us, I mean, the way it's written in the Sefer Torah. So you have many different sections and many different verses, right? And HaKodesh Baruch Hu could have had Moshe Rabbeinu put it down in any different order that he wanted, right? And so the question is, like, you have a right to ask, why is this parsha, why is this section adjacent to another section? You have a right to ask, right? Because I'll ask it, so you have a right to ask. And many times, and in certain cases, even more so, right? And there's a maklokas where the smichas you darshan in all of Kol Torah Kula, all the 5 Chumash Torah, or only in Devarim. But everyone agrees in Devarim, yes. The question is whether you have a right to really make legal halakhic ramification based on the adjacency of the parshas one to the next, based on all Torah Kula now. Okay, so that's one of the ways we learn Torah. And one of the things that we derive and explain the Torah based on its association and configuration in the matrix of all the sections and verses of the Torah. Right? So that's what we call smichos. So here also we have a right, you have a very strong right when you're learning, especially in Avos, it's really the morale goes into this very strongly, and others in portion as well as too, that if certain statements were made, right, and not simply that they were made, how they were actually said and what was actually said, we'll never really know. Right? We weren't there, they weren't tape recorders recording exactly, but the way it's been recorded for us in terms of its verification, authorization as being Mishnayos, or being in Gemara, right? So that's now a fixed, accepted, certified record of how things have been transmitted to us, right? So the fact that these 3 statements are associated one to the next, right, is meaningful. Right? And so that's what he's explaining. Right? He says when in the Torah Bailey Omer Harchik Mishochim Rav, Altis Kabel Russia, Altis Yaishman Pradesh, these 3 things have some type of relation amongst each other. Right? That's significant. Right? And so therefore he's explaining as follows. Let's go back to the Avos, Magen Avos Torah.
I'll teach you Yaishman according to Tsama. La'al titchaber l'Rasha. Next to don't say anything in Russia. Lo ta'amar harei ani ro'ed harasha derchav matzlichin be'eni mafsik klum nechaber to not that you should say, behold, I see this Russia and his ways and Matzlichim. They're successful. The Russia is very successful.
Yeah.
And I will mafsid. I will lose.
Ve'eni mafsid klum b'kivrasa, and I'm not going to lose anything by making a pact, a friendship with him.
I'm not going to lose by making a friendship with him. In fact, I might stand to gain from it.
Right. So he's explaining. There's a reason why it's one five al tischaber Russia. Don't join up with the Russia, and don't be despair. Don't forget about Perennials. Why? Because a person might come to say, "Hey, I look at this guy, right? Someone's on the phone with me just a couple of days ago, last week, and he says, you know, people who are shakrani, people who are liars, I see they're doing very well, right? They tell people what they want to hear, right? Whether it's true or not, and you do business with them, right? And they just lie because they know this person wants to hear this and that, right? And he was telling me it's hard for him to accept that. You know, he says he's interested in, not trying to convince anybody about anything. If they're interested in his products, they're interested in products. He's not trying to convince them to do this and get things that they don't need or things that are not going to be effective for them. He's not interested in lying, right? But he sees the people who are lying, you know, they're doing business and they're selling their products, right? It was written in a long time. I forgot how I got hold of it. No, I remember how I got hold of it. I was working in a Jewish summer camp. This is years and years ago in Pennsylvania. So I was riding along the country road. So I came across you couldn't even call it an antique shop. It was just like a junk store. Junk store. It had all kinds of old things there. So it had a few old books. Right. One old book happened to be the Origin of the Species, or the original copy, Origin of the Species by Darwin. There he says a few things. We'll talk about that another time. But it also had there, like from 1905, a New York business correspondence school. You could correspondence school. You could take courses and become a businessman. And it had the business's handbook. Right, it's a nice little handbook. All kinds of little interesting things about business. So there has a section on advertising. So right there, the first statement says like 90% of things that are sold because of creating a need in the mind of the purchaser. Not because they need it, but you create a need in the mind of the purchaser. Right? By creating this need, so they feel that they have a need to get it, they maybe sell your product. But it's 90% of things that are not really needed. Yeah? So that's the first thing you have to know about advertising. You have to create a need that's not really needed in the mind of the purchaser. So which is really basically sheker. You don't really need this, but I'm going to make you believe that you need it. Right?
In Israel, they have this thing 1 + 1.
Yeah, 1 + 1. Yeah, what does that mean?
Buy one extra, get one free.
Oh, that's a discount, huh?
You opportunity to do this, get one free.
Yeah, so people like to get something for free. So they gain it.
I see more often that buy one get second half off, which is less useful, which in my opinion is less of an incentive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It depends, again, they're trying to look for it. So you see this Russia, just getting back to our point here, you see this Russia, and you see he seems to be doing well. So you say, well, if I join up with him, right, I'm not going to lose out by joining up with him. I'll Cain Omer, don't say this. So you shouldn't think this. Why?
This means therefore say.
I'll Cain Omer, right? That means therefore the Mishnah said. Therefore the Mishnah said like this.
Shalot teacher es min hapernios, that you should not despair from calamity/judgment, punishment ki pitom yavos, because suddenly it will come.
What?
Edo.
Suddenly, pitom. Pitom is like suddenly.
Edo. I think this is the word I was thinking of yesterday. Edo, his downfall, his right. Edo's weakness. I'm pretty sure this is the story. Anyway, I'll look it up later. The evade, and he will come to ruin.
He will be destroyed.
He will perish.
Perish, good.
Who him the kol Mechabrim imo, and all those who join with him.
That's right. I mean, it's not just, he's not going to take himself, he's not going to go down himself. He's going to go down and take other people with him.
How, when, why,
Oh,
or just in general?
well, why? Let's take why. Why? Because he deserves punishments. He's a Rush, he deserves punishments.
Okay.
And it's actually, there's benefit he gets punishments in this world than in the next world. But let's say you have a tzaddik, and a tzaddik wanted to join up with a person who's a Rush for some reason. So because he's associated with him, he's going to be wrapped up into it as well. In one way, he's going to be implicated somehow or another. He's not going to escape unscathed. So a person who's thought, out this guy is Minaparanis, meaning you think this guy is going to be successful all the time, and if you join up with him, you'll also be successful. No, you can't forget. There's, this person is deserving of punishments, and they're going to come sooner or later. And when they do, you're most likely going to get involved with them too.
I actually saw this happen.
Mm-hmm.
I had a boss who was very jealous and protective of his turf. And when we solved a problem, we had what's called a ticket. Somebody would write a description saying this is what the problem is, and it would be assigned to you, to me, and then I had to solve the problem. And there was a place to put comments, and I would put comments and explain what I did. And he saw one of my tickets that I had completed, and he said, "Why are you explaining what you did?" I said, "Well, because if the similar problem recurs, I can go back and look at what I did, and I can see an explanation of what I did, and I can repeat it." He said, "Keep that in your private notes. Don't put that in the ticket, because everybody can see the ticket." I said, "So?" He said, "Well, they'll steal your job. They'll see how you did they'll see, how you did it, and then they'll be able to do it too." So this was just an example of his attitude towards the other people in the company. We had to be secretive, and
He was the boss. He was the owner.
he was my boss. He was the boss of my group.
But he wasn't the owner. He was.
Not the whole company. Just my group.
Okay.
So then what happened was, my division of the company, I worked for Fox, which is a huge company, and my division was the audience network part of Fox. It was a small part of Fox, but it was a big division.
What is Fox again? What Fox is? What kind of?
Fox is a 20th Century Fox. It's a
Okay, that I know.
Yeah, it's a big
movie
making company.
Okay, Fox and Fox.
But they have a lot of computer applications and a lot
sure
of
they do.
different stuff that they do. Anyway, my division was purchased by another company, and so everybody in my division had to have a disposition. What would happen to them?
Yeah, sure.
Either they would be picked up by the new company, and the new company decided to take about half. So about half of the people were laid off. He was laid off, and I was picked up. I felt like that was Hashem was saying to me, because I stuck to my way.
Yeah.
I wasn't jealous, and I wasn't keeping secrets.
Right.
I was sharing things,
Sure.
and I wasn't worrying about somebody stealing my job. And it ended up that I kept working, and he left.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard because if people, that's what we. A person's midos. What do we mean by his midos? Meaning his attitudes, his personality. That you have his personality, person's personality. That what he's basically given by HaKodesh Baruch. Everyone's given a certain personality. Some people are more kind by nature. Some are more secretive by nature. Some are more angered easily by nature. Some are less angered. Everyone has their own mix of all these different basic character traits. And which basically the basic three are Kina, Taiva, V'Kavod. Those are the basic three. Kina, Taiva, V'Kavod. And Kina, meaning jealousies, and Taiva meaning lusts, and Kavod meaning honor. To put himself out in front of people.
I think the Shalosh said it's hard to work on middle for the rest of your life and to help Shas.
That's right, very true. Yeah, very hard to change the meter.
Very
Meter raw,
so
change the meter raw.
Yisrael Salanta.
Doesn't mean you can't.
It's harder to change one minute than to throw the whole Shas.
But you have to work with it. You have to realize. Some people are born. Some people are born more secretive and more jealous than other people. And so if they learn only with Torah can you change it. So but that's going to taint all their behavior. Their behavior is only going to be an outgrowth of their midos, of their characteristics, right? So further than that, the author from the Vardik explains that everything that happens to a person is really just I'll put it in like modern terms. It's just like a feedback device based on what he really is, because Hashem wants to challenge and have a person grow and hopefully change for the better. So all the experience that the person encounters in life are going to be experiences to try and change himself in towards the best possible way. But if a person is in a situation where he's not working on himself, so these downsides of his personality and his attitude just fester and just create problems. Right? He mentions we wrote this was clearly written in the beginning of the Sefer Shalom Bayis, that Chazal mentioned that you take a look at the deer. The deer has antlers, right? And actually it's very nice, I tried word for you, that if you look at the classic deer antlers, the way they grow, there are three tiers, which correspond very nicely to the type of the code. And symbolic understands you things. So if a deer is being chased, right? Let's say he's being chased, right? So in the open fields, it's fair game, for other animals or arrows or certain guns. If they're, the only way you can escape from the pursuers is to dash into the forest. So, but the deer is faced with a dilemma, right? It has its horns, right? The antlers. If it's going to try and dash into the thickets and the trees with its antlers, it's going to get caught up by its antlers, and it's going to be stuck in the thickets, and it'll be even worse off. They'll be easier prey than in the field, right? So it only has one option. It breaks its antlers. On the first tree it sees, it breaks its antlers, and it loses its antlers, and it can now dash right into the forest.
Very nice.
Right? Yeah, this is what Chazal brought with. So he says that's the situation with the deer, right? That by breaking its midos, he transfers it to us. By breaking its midos, our midos, that we can also go through the forest and we can be successful. But he makes a very, very clear distinction. By the deer, there's a real forest, right? There's a real threat and there's a real forest. By us, everything is dependent upon us. If we break our midos beforehand, so all our situations in life, it doesn't have to be a forest. It doesn't have to be, such a terrible situation here. If we, through previous preparation, basically through learning Muslim, through Torah, everything you can do to tame yourself and control yourself, then there's no forest, and no one's really chasing you. You're not running away from anything, right? But those people who are continually faced with their own unimproved basic characters, they're going to be forced with situations where Hashem's going to put them in situations for their own benefit to try and break their midos. You have to try and break them down, right? If they don't do it voluntarily, they're going to have to try and be faced with it involuntarily. They're going to be faced with difficult situations. And so a lot of the situations people find themselves in are really self-caused. Really self-caused. So, that's the attitude we have to try and take. It's a shame. Okay, let's just finish up this last piece. We'll go on to the next year in a few minutes. Okay, no, but therefore was said in the statement.
No, the Ein Kav.
Al Kain, therefore.
Okay. Al Kain has here, Amar, it warns and says, Al Tiches Ba'et Hatzlah Mimei HaPorniot. Don't despair in the time of this is saving, isn't it?
Hatzlah, in the time when things are in a situation of being good. Meaning, Hatzlah at the time of Hatzlah, when the person's like it's also there's a little bit of Hatzlacha and Hatzala. They're similar. They have the two-letter shorish, which is similar. They're not. They're really two. Hatzlacha is success, and Hatzala is really being saved, right? Being Hatzala, that's what they call. They call the first aid counseling situation here.
Right.
Hatzala. So it's like Beis Hatzala at the time of being here. It's in connection with what we said. The time of being successful in terms of being everything being okay. At the time of being everything okay. Atis Yayish, don't give up in the time of the perennials, the hard times, the times of hardship.
So, why would you despair during the 8th Hatzalah?
Meaning, at the time when a person is on the upswing, right, he shouldn't forget about the times that things are going to come, it's going to turn down on him. That it could. That's what we said previously in the base of Bechira. Take a look at the previous citation, right? He says, "Al tisyayish adam in a perennials." Person shouldn't give up on perennials. Ella, what? Yehei adam mefache b'kol yom b'yom ha'oili sheme hayom tavo. Maybe the perennials, any time these perennials can happen to him, right? You see, so that's even if things are going good, Beis Hatzala, at the time of the good times, don't give up on the days where things might get a little bit more difficult. Right?
V'titrashal al ma'aseh tov. The titrashal, I'm not sure what that means.
Tisrashal, to become lax on his ma'aseh tov, meaning don't think things are going good, I can relax. I don't have to be as good as, things are going great, I'll come a little later for davening, my Shabbos will be a little bit less, this and that. No, if things are going good, you have even more of an obligation to try harder and try harder and try harder. And then that might be a guarantee that things won't change for the worse, right?
I'm confused by the two parts of the sentence.
Okay.
The first part seems to be saying, don't despair in a time when you're being saved from the bad things.
Right.
And then it says, and don't slack off in your diligence.
Right.
But if you're despairing about the bad times, then you would tend to not slack off. But if you're not despairing about the good times, then you would tend to slack off. So it seems like the opposite of what it should be saying.
Okay, so good. So based on your question, I have a different way of reading this. Perhaps let's read it like this. Okay, therefore, Hizer Lomer, it said, it's warning and saying as follows. Don't, right, give up at the time where where you're saved from the times, the days of perennials. Don't give up, don't forget, right? Don't forget at the time you're being saved from perennials. And because of that, you'll become weak, you'll become lax. You'll become lax on your good deeds.
Okay.
Right? And the person
it's
been a clear sailing. The guy's on the high seas, it's calm, it's a nice breeze, calm sailing, right? Blue skies, right? So don't think that it's gonna remain this way and you don't have to watch your compass. You have to keep your ship on course, right? Because if you get off course, you run off aground, right? So even though things are Hatzala Mimei, it's Hatzala, it's very good, it's Hatzala Mimei Peronius. Don't, Altis Yayish Beis Hatzala Mimei Peronius. Don't, see, Yayish is like, don't become, this Yayish usually uses despair, but here, it's a little bit different connotation here. It's Altis Yayish Beis Hatzala Mimei Peronius. Don't forget at the time of your being saved from the days of difficulties, right? And therefore you will become lax in your good deeds. Why? Because as I said previously, fortunate is the person who's mafakik tummy. So fortunate is the person who's always fearful, right?
Right.
And therefore if you do that, go ahead, let's just finish that up.
all of his days he will be strong in doing tshuva and in good deeds. V'ken Perishua B'Braisa.
I left that out. Please continue on to explain further in the Bryce.
I see.
Okay, so maybe we'll go over it again one more time quickly tomorrow, and then we'll continue our mission.
In other words, if you worry